Everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to start filming the 2024 planner flip-throughs. So I like to film these in quarters just because I get really chatty when flipping back through the year. So it just works better to break it up into the 4 quarters of the year. So today it's going to be January through March of 2024. So let's go ahead and open up my planner and get into it. This is a Sadie Stickers 7x9 planner with the Spanish florals cover and the gold quill. So getting that out of the way, let's go ahead and open up the planner. And I am going to flip through like all of the pages, not just the weekly spreads, because I have stuff on a lot of the other extra pages as well. Now, obviously at the end of the year, especially because I used a lot of extenders this year and a lot of overlay, well, not that many overlays, probably less than in 2023, but there's lots of overlays and extenders in here. So this is all kind of little bit rounded over at this point, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and flip through my 2024 planner. Alrighty, so in 2024, I just stuck this sticker from one of my Itty Bitty Sticker Co. orders with my name on it because I thought that would be a cute way to start off the year. I did not use these pages yet again. Maybe 2025 will be the year that I put a photo in each of these pages or something, but 2024 was not the year. Didn't do anything with this page. I experimented with something with the 2025 look ahead with marking like family holidays, so birthdays, anniversaries, etc. And then extended family, which I think I meant for like my family of origin. And then events coming up. So I know there's a few graduations and weddings and such coming up in 2025. So I just kind of experimented with this. I don't love how it turned out. Moving on. This was my January dashboard. So I put this postcard from Itty Bitty Sticker Co. right there. And then now we are getting into sticker plans. So this was January 2024. I used a monthly kit from Itty Bitty Sticker Co. And we had our kitten for 6 months. This feels like so long ago now. And it was only a little bit over a year ago. It's so weird. We had our first wedding anniversary, and then we moved from Orange County to Sacramento, and I started a new job. And then we were finishing, quote unquote, Clover's medical treatment, celebrating 3 years with our older cat. And then had to drive back to SoCal to finish moving out because basically we needed to move most of the stuff this weekend because it was a 3-day weekend for us because I needed to start work. But then at the same time, we still had like so much left to do with our old apartment. And then this was where I said goodbye to Southern California. And we had a friend visit. This was the first weekly spread of the year. This is a kit called Bibliophile from Cinderella Paper. This was, of course, the New Year. I used this instead of a New Year's kit because I didn't have any New Year's kits that I liked, and I wanted to set this as a goal to read more. I set my word of the year for 2024, which was recover. We got there eventually. The first half of 2024 was very much still in the thick of everything with moving and with Clover being really sick. I did have 2 weeks off here, but a lot of that was spent trying to pack up the apartment. New Year's Day, I just sat and read a lot because my husband had to drive back to Sacramento, cleaned out my office on campus, and turned in my keys for my old job. I was still in therapy at this point. Finished Mexican Gothic, which is a novel I really recommend. There was an earthquake, which made me really want to get out of SoCal. I was chatting with my old neighbor and her dog. I do miss them. I was starting to change my address and all of that. And on this weekend, my husband came back to SoCal with my dad's van and loaded it with a bunch of furniture. So we moved in a lot of stages. I don't know that that was the best option, but it all got done eventually. This was a kit from Kimmy's Studio. She's closed, so that's irrelevant at this point. And then there was a lot of foil, gold and silver and pink foil from a million different shops. The only one of which is really open for physical orders right now is, I think, Plannahannah. It was really cold this week. I wrote in "Do It for Her" for Clover and Evie, like the Simpsons meme. I was feeling overwhelmed. Getting dry cleaning done before we moved. Just really anxious. I was having to do a live scan for my new job. I miss Clyde's. If you're in SoCal, or I think they have a location in Vegas too, Clyde's hot chicken is really good. I don't really get their hot spicy chicken. That's my husband's deal. but their grilled chicken sandwich is just so good and their waffle fries are amazing. So that's a local chain I really like. I was FaceTiming my husband because he was gone during the week, doing a bunch of HR nonsense. I was in my feelings. I forget why, but that's just my life. Picked up the dry cleaning. That's like out of the ordinary for me. And then we were celebrating our first wedding anniversary this weekend. So my sister and her boyfriend came over to help us take apart some furniture and things. My husband came back to SoCal. We loaded up a bunch of furniture in the van. And then this day I was like, I don't want to do a ton of moving stuff. It looks like I packed up like the cat stuff that we were going to need for the next day because we were moving. But other than that, we like went out for lunch and coffee and dinner. And I was putting away the Christmas decorations. And we popped open a bottle of champagne that our venue gave us the day of our wedding a year prior. And I was playing our reception playlist while we were packing up all that stuff. And Clover was 9 months. Cute. Oh, I love this moving kit because it's got a calico cat in it, and we have 2 calico cats. This is Fresh Start by Cinderella Paper, paired with a bunch of hollow foil from Plannahannah because I wanted to use some of the LA boxes that I had in hollow foil. This, of course, was the main moving week. We drove up to Sacramento this day. I took like no photos that day because I had both cats in my car and they were upset. Evie silent protested the whole drive from Northern Orange County to Sacramento. She didn't speak a word to me. She was so upset that she was just like, I'm ignoring you. I'm not talking to you. And she wouldn't eat anything at all. Clover was very vocal about her displeasure in being stuck in her carrier in the car for that long. So she would eat anytime we would take a break, but she was very loud. Ever since this day, though, she has not meowed much in the car, but she meowed a lot that day. So we loaded up the van and the cats, and I said, say goodbye to your first home, girls. Although Clover came back with me 2 weeks later when I finished the move out process. But yeah, I wrote in that Clover meowed the whole way, and Evie was on a silent protest. She was so pissed. She was so mad at me. Evie was vomiting several times the next day. She was really like not happy about moving. So that's something to look forward to the next time we have to move, which I don't know when that's going to be. We do like our current place, and the landlord hasn't raised the rent in a year, so I guess we're staying here for a while. There's nothing wrong with it. So yeah, Clover was fine, although she was the one who was going to get horribly ill weeks later. I was happy about how much space I had. I realized I started a moving vlog, like touring this apartment, and I just never did anything with the footage. But now I feel like it's not worth seeing. And maybe I'll just save it for when we eventually move out of this place and just do a whole compilation. Also because like, it's way too easy for people to figure out where you live on the internet. It's creepy. I hate it. Yeah. I was working on my syllabus because I was supposed to start work on Friday. And luckily, like, my class didn't meet until Friday because like the onboarding for this took a really long time. And I didn't have access to Canvas, which is our learning management software, until like the next week. So way chaotic. Drinking our leftover champagne because we had moved in. Put the couch together, obviously. Had a bunch of I-9 paperwork and picking up keys and parking passes and all that. Evie vomited again. Cool. And then, yeah, I started my new job here, and I'm still teaching there now, so that's good. Tried a new restaurant here in town. That was really good. We still love that place. Fixing up the living room. I think Evie finally came out of hiding around the weekend. So, yeah, that was the moving week. I really do love this kit. I don't think anybody really sells it anymore, though. I don't even know if Kitten Jess has that art up on her website anymore. And then this was a Colorado week for us. So what I mean by that is this was supposed to be our last visit to Colorado because Clover was finishing her FIP treatment. This is Tintern by Cinderella Paper with Plannahannah cat overlays in autumn tie-dye. I love this so much. It says a home without a cat is just a house. I agree. Sorry, I have plans with my cat. I thought that was funny for this day going to Denver, and I put ask me about my cat here because when you fly with a cat, let me know down below if you've ever flown with a pet. If you fly, especially with a cat, people are like, is that a cat? Everyone wants to talk to you. sometimes the conversations go well, sometimes the conversations go awry, and I think that's what happened this time on the way home. Yeah. So getting into Monday, basically from October to May, we flew back and forth between here and Colorado because my kitten was getting treated through a university trial, because at the time that made the most sense. Now, if you're watching this and for some reason you hear the letters FIP, there are medications available totally above the board through multiple online pharmacies. So you don't have to do what I did at this point, thank God. But that all happened in June of 2024. So that wasn't an option for me. If that had been an option, we would have taken it. But it wasn't. So this is what we had to do. So we had our last visit, or what we thought was going to be our last visit. I visited Horsetooth Reservoir in Fort Collins, which is very pretty. And then, like I said, one person like struck up a conversation with me, and like she wanted to do this whole rigmarole because she was allergic to cats. She was getting on the same flight as I was, and she was like, "Okay, so I'm going to save you a seat towards the front, so that like something about the allergens circulating better that way." I'm like, I don't believe you, but whatever. This was on Southwest, by the way, so it was open seating, but it was just like, you're really stressing me out. So that's cool. Anyway, went home, opened anniversary presents. Saw a tuxedo cat. There's a lot more stray cats. There were a lot of stray cats in our old apartment, but we were on the second floor, so I feel like my cat would just like glare at them out the window and be fine with it. But we're on a ground floor now, and the boy cats especially cause some issues. Clover, after taking her last pill this day, after 89 days of pills, and the standard treatment's 84, but her doctor didn't want her to stop taking the pills until she had the time to examine her. Clover started eating less and would only eat snacks and things like that by this point. So I scheduled a vet appointment for her for the next Monday. That really was very inconclusive, unfortunately. We drove back to Fullerton this day because we had to. We had to still clean out our apartment. There was still some stuff there. There was also some family stuff going on here, some really sad news going on that I'm not going to get into right now, but it was really hard to hear that while working through stuff with Clover as well. Like, it just felt like so many things were wrong. We got Clyde's again because I think that's the last time we got Clyde's. Yeah. I think also somewhere in here I got Good Fish for the last time, which is also in Fullerton, and I really recommend them too as well. I had to go to Goodwill. My husband drove away. It was like 80 degrees in January this day. Why couldn't it have been this weather the year prior when I got married? So silly. But yeah, I had to go to Goodwill. I got an oil change. Oh yeah, I got Good Fish for dinner right here because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get that for a long time. So yeah, I really love this one. I didn't do anything with the dashboards here in February. This was another Itty Bitty Sticker Co. monthly kit. I was reading Dune, which I finally finished, I think the next month, or maybe this was me finishing it. I don't know. No, I finished it in March. We were being very social this month. We're a lot more social in Sacramento, I feel like. So, like, multiple gatherings with people. The 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers were in the Super Bowl, and I didn't watch it, but they're kind of my team just regionally. But they lost, so that was fun for us. And then this is where Clover started losing control of her back legs and was generally not eating very well and just generally seemed very miserable. So we ended up going back to Colorado on an emergency almost a month after she had stopped treatment, and we restarted treatment. So that was February 2024. These are leftovers from a Cinderella paper kit called, I don't remember. I don't think it's for sale anymore either. But I know that the foil, the overlays, so these are LA overlays, and these are like quote overlays. Everything in that case is from Plannahannah as far as an overlay. So this one says, "Now be brave and don't look back, don't look back." That's from Shmi Skywalker. That's from a Star Wars sheet. And the underlays are probably called something like Rain. Yeah, they're called Rain. They're from Leonard Designs. And I can't remember the exact foil color, but it's either like nickel or pewter or something. It's not just standard silver. So I used the Los Angeles overlays because this was when I was leaving SoCal for real. So I had a vet appointment bright and early for Clover to do a urinalysis. It was amazing to compare her x-rays at this vet from before she got treated for FIP versus after, but she was just generally miserable. We could not figure it out. but they prescribed, I think, something for like, what's it called? Something cystitis, idiopathic cystitis, which is basically just what they call it when like your cat seems to not be doing well with their bladder, but there's no real cause. That was not what was going on. I should have known. I guilt myself a lot about this. I feel like I should have known that this was a relapse, but none of the vets I was talking to thought it was. They thought it was something else. So I can't control that. I'm not a medical professional, but I still sort of have some guilt about that, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, anyway, then I turned in the keys, said goodbye to our old neighbor, returned the Spectrum router, which took way too long, can I just say? That was stupid. And then drove to Sacramento, so we were all reunited. And then I was dealing with both unemployment insurance, but also I had to get a TB clearance done. I was unpacking. This makes me sad. Evie and Clover were both together on our really tall cat tree, and Clover can't safely get up there anymore. So that was probably one of the last times that she could do that, which makes me feel really sad. But she's a happy little camper. I'm not gonna, like, she's figured out how to make life work for her, and I'm very proud of her. But it makes me sad that she's maybe never gonna be normal again. But we did have a friend come visit because he was going skiing. So we didn't go skiing, but he did. So he was staying with us, crashing on our couch. It was super windy this day. I remember it was really scary, like branches were blowing everywhere. These are leftovers from a Cinderella paper kit called Prosperity, and I paired it with red foil from Plantahana, the San Francisco overlays, because we went to San Francisco this weekend. The underlays are called Lunar New Year. They're also from Plantahana, and they're in red glitter. So this was just kind of trying to get into a routine type of week. Clover was peeing on all sorts of things that were not in her litter box. She was not doing well. And I was really stressed out about that. We did go out for my husband's birthday, which was on the 10th. That was also the day of Lunar New Year in 2024. So we went to Dim Sum in San Francisco for that. So that was good. That was like the last fun thing we did for a while. And then, like I said, this was a Super Bowl. I didn't watch it, but I did want to mark it because I had stickers for it. And the San Francisco 49ers were in the Super Bowl. So I thought it was kind of funny that we went to San Francisco the day before, and then I was using a San Francisco bit of foil overlay. I think I still have a couple of these San Francisco overlays, but red is a hard color to match with things. And then this was the week of Valentine's Day. This was a kit from Apple Blossom Prints. I'm pretty sure she doesn't sell this one anymore. I think this is called Star-Crossed. I have a couple extenders here. This is an old format of her kits, though. Her format's very different now. Clover was still like peeing on things inappropriately. I was in contact with multiple vets at this point, including her research vet, but we were not getting anywhere with all of that, unfortunately. Clover was 10 months old on Valentine's Day, which was also Ash Wednesday in this year. I baked walnut brownies, and I remember they turned out really dry. I was really worried, just because there was a lot of inappropriate elimination going on around the house from the cat. We figured out our new health insurance, and I really was not sure if Clover was okay this day. Her back legs were getting really wobbly, and I forget what day she jumped up on the cat tree and fell while trying to jump up there. I think that happened either this day or this day. I can't remember. It was really bad though. I was very upset. And we started like alternating sleeping in the office with Clover because we still had her in her own room because our adult cat like totally rejected her when we first brought her home. So we had not transitioned them into living in the same room, especially because Clover got so sick 3 months into getting her. So it just made sense to keep them apart. But we did start taking turns sleeping in the room with her because we just didn't want her to be alone while she was sick. So this is Sunshine and Rain by Cinderella Paper. This is where we restarted treatment with Clover. So she was still not using her litter box appropriately. We went and got blood work done, And her globulins were up a little bit in her blood work, but not like a ton to alarm anybody. So it was just weird that she was having all of these neurological problems, but there was nothing clinical to point to as far as like, it's like she's acting sick, but like there's nothing we can say definitively. So I got in touch with her Colorado vet and booked a last minute trip to Colorado. I talked about this in my planner awards video. I'm not going to get into it again. It was a terrible trip. I was already so upset. But then the people around me just made me even more upset. Though I will add this though. I think I said in the last video, I was like crying in the Human Bean drive-thru because it was before Clover's appointment. And the staff at, not that they're going to be watching this, but the staff at the Human Bean near Colorado State University, so sweet, love them. So they made my day. They were probably like, why does this woman look like she's been crying? What is going on? I'm like, we're not going to get into it. So we restarted treatment. Everything was awful. Clover would start eating food off of my fingers, so I had to hand feed her for like probably 2 weeks. My husband got bit by her because we were having to give her several medications a day orally, and one of them was a liquid syringe medication, and it tasted awful. So she bit my husband. Everything turned out fine. But yeah, we had to get really strategic about administering that medication because even though she was so weak and not eating very well, she still found the strength to lash out. And I don't blame her. I do not blame her at all. She felt horrible. So yeah, I chose this kit both because it has animals in it, but also because it's rainy, and it was just a very rainy, gloomy week. Okay, so then March, things start to get better. Hopefully you'll keep watching. Sorry to be such a bummer. The first quarter of the year was rough, real rough. So I chose this Molly Bakery postcard because Pi Day is in March. I just realized we didn't celebrate Pi Day this year. We should do that. We should get a pie. Anyway, another Itty Bitty Sticker Co. monthly kit. I voted in the California primary. We had like a cafe and bookstore date because things were starting to improve. We went and saw Dune Part 2. We did married people taxes for the first time. And yeah, pretty chill month, except that our day-to-day lives were very chaotic because Clover needed so much medication, but we were weighing her at least once a week to make sure she was making progress. And this was the most she ever weighed. So we'll have to see how much she weighed then because she probably weighs like twice that now. Kind of crazy. I have multiple voting stickers here. I just realized this is the Sac County one, and this was like the generic one that they sent. This is from Cafe with Anna. This is the Black History Month kit. You can still get this one. I've got a million extenders here. Come on, open up. This was a really bad week, though, unfortunately. I hate to use a great kit for a really terrible week, but what can you do? Life is lifing. We figured out to use a restraint bag when giving Clover her medication. She pooped for the first time in like a week, so TMI, but that was good. Evie was feeling neglected and woke me up screaming. She knew stuff was not going well, but she's like, I still need attention. I'm still your baby. I'm like, I know. And Clover would just like alternate between being like really strong one week and then one day and then really weak another. So we were trying to figure out if we had dialed in the right amount of medication. Us and her doctor were trying to figure that out. She tried playing with her little reindeer toy this day, so that was a good sign. I had to administer one of her most difficult medications like by myself in the afternoon when my husband was at work because he was working fully in the office at this point. She started eating off of her plate again though, so that was good. And I was having to send videos to her doctor periodically to kind of show whether or not her walking was improving. She was very unsteady on her feet. She played with string, that was really good, but we were still like on this day trying to figure out, is she getting better? Is she getting worse? What's going on? She was steadier on her feet this day. Like I said, we went and saw Dune Part 2. She jumped on the couch, which was wild. And then this is a silly little sign that my kitten is doing well, but she's really obsessed with my hair. I have pretty long hair. She's always loved playing with it. When she was really sick, she didn't do that, but this day she started playing with my hair again when I was like leaning over her. And now she's a menace to society and absolutely yanks on my hair whenever she can. So I've never had the heart to tell her no with that. I'm a great parent there. Because for me, it's just like, that's how I know she's doing well and feeling well. So I'll just let her yank on my hair. I do stop her at some point, but that is what that represents. Okay, so this was another pretty bad week. That's why I used this kit called, I think it's called You'll Be Okay from Cinderella Paper. And I paired it with some sparkly hollow and purple foil that I had from various like freebies. Clover was getting stronger and eating on her own. And we made up a stupid parody song of Man in the Mirror called Cat in the Mirror. And yeah, it's funny. I brought it up the other day because I had forgotten we made up this song a year ago. And yeah, I reminded my husband about that. Clover was chasing dust bunnies and her tail, so that's a good sign. I did, unfortunately, she bit her tongue when I was administering one of her medications, so suddenly her mouth was like all full of blood, and I was like, I messed up. So that was great. It was the California primary, so I dropped off my ballot. Canvas was down, so I couldn't really do a whole lot of work, but I still worked anyway. Look at me go. And let's see, I was reading Dune, finishing that up. Yeah, I think I finished it. We'll find out when. That book is so long. Got Casey Musgraves tickets. And I was just really scared about Clover because we were ending her Mirataz, which is an appetite stimulant, because they can't be on that long term. First of all, they need to regain their appetite on their own. And also it is, I think, potentially bad for their liver long term. And also it's an irritant. It's an ointment that you put in their ear. So over time it does irritate their skin a lot. So I was scared about ending that just because I'm like, I hope she keeps eating. And I lost it again for some reason. I lost it several times this day because that girl, she fought certain medications so hard. Pills, totally fine. And her main medication, her antiviral, was a pill. But everything else that was like liquid, she was like, I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, you're 5 pounds. Or at least she was at the beginning of this month. Because yeah, at the beginning of this month, she was 5.2 pounds, which was a very low weight for her. And then at some point towards the end of the month, she's going to weigh a lot more. Not a lot more, but a good amount more. She's almost 10 pounds now, as an almost 2-year-old cat. She doesn't look it, though. She's very dense. Like, she looks really skinny, but then you pick her up, and it's like a bag of bricks. Anyway, what else happened here? She was walking more normally here. I was having this weird situation with my eardrum where I think it was an allergy response, but my ears kept, like, vibrating. It was really annoying. I successfully got Clover's medication in this day, so that was good. Okay, and then this is the week, this will make me sad. This was Molly the cat's birthday. I forget which day it was. It was either this day or this day. I don't know. If you don't know Molly from Itty Bitty Sticker Co., the mascot, the flagship, I guess, I don't know if I'm using that word right, of Itty Bitty Sticker Co., she passed away in January 2025. So this was my tribute to her birthday before that. So this is from Itty Bitty Sticker Co., of course. This was my spring break. And Clover's back legs were getting stronger. It was sunny and in the 70s. I'm on spring break right now, and we had a huge thunderstorm yesterday. It was very cold. And I think the highest temperature that's going to happen this week is like maybe 68. So, which I am still blessed with California weather, but it is not warm necessarily right now. It's sunny now, and I think it'll be sunny for the rest of this week, but it's not 70s warm. Clover used her scratching post. She was getting up to 5.8 pounds. It did rain this day. I remember this day, it was like the second day of my spring break, and I'm like, what the hell did I do all day? Like, I didn't do work, well, sometimes I work during spring break, but this semester I didn't because I was only teaching 2 classes. Oh, I quoted the Andy Samberg stupid song of like, my dad's not a phone, because I was on FaceTime with my husband, and Clover did not like it. I don't know, cats really don't like FaceTime. Clover jumped on my chair. She was 11 months old here. Oh, and my husband started working from home 2 days a week at his current job. So he picked a couple of days per week to work from home, which is good. And then I was working on job apps like this whole time because I was underemployed. So, yep. And then I finally finished Dune. All 794 pages of it. It took me multiple years, but we did it. We finally finished reading Dune. We put Clover away in her room when we went out this night, and she escaped. We realized the doors in our place, like the bedroom doors, do not close. And that's been a commonality between multiple apartments. It's because they paint over everything way too many times, you know? So that's hard when you have cats. Like in our old place, our bathroom door didn't close all the way, which was fine because it was just my husband and I. But like Evie would just bust into the bathroom all the time. And I'm like, you are so rude. And she's like, I have a litter box in here too. We did our taxes. And then I was sad and or anxious for some reason, but life was just hard. So yeah. Clover was so strong that she broke the feather off of her ball toy. We have this like ball track toy that's like multiple layers of like wooden tracks and then balls. And then it had like a feather on the top of it. And she fought it so hard this day that she broke the feather off. So it doesn't have a feather anymore. So that was funny. And this is where I started listening to Noah Kahan for the first time, and Clover was playing like crazy, which was awesome. This was week 3 completed of her new treatment. This was Plant With Me from Cinderella paper with a little bit of green foil from Plant With Me stickers. I had a meeting on Zoom with some coworkers at my new job, and it was really nice to actually chat with people because I was only teaching on campus on Fridays, so I never saw anybody. So that was nice to actually meet some people who I work with, especially because I had a classroom observation coming up. The new Decemberists album came out this last spring 2024. There was so much new music, and now this year I'm like, I'm sure there's new music. It's just not from people who I listen to. So, oh no, this wasn't the new Decemberists album. It was just one song. I didn't love their latest album. I'm not gonna lie. And this song was like a 20-minute like compilation of stuff. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I was applying for jobs. My husband and I went to Denver again to take Clover for her first checkup. That was nice. I remember we stayed at the Courtyard by Marriott, which both them and the Residence Inn in Fort Collins are both great. I recommend both of them if you have to go there. I also recommend if you're going to the Denver airport, rent through Hertz. If you're going to get rental cars, it's a little bit more as far as price goes, but they're excellent there. The staff are wonderful, and the staff at like some of the other rental car agencies, because I've used a couple of them at that airport, you save a little bit of money, but you waste a lot more time, and you just generally have a worse experience. So Hertz, they're my buddies at the Denver airport. We had her first checkup. Things were looking good. I was chatting with someone who had like a 4 or 5-year-old cat in the study as well. And he had neurological and ocular problems from the get-go. Well, that was one thing we never dealt with was ocular FIP, which is where it like infects their eyes and makes them temporarily, if not permanently, blind. So luckily we never dealt with that, but she was dealing with that. So I was just kind of like encouraging her about like how successful things had been so far, even though we were dealing with a relapse, but things seemed to be going better. Oh, TSA was nasty to us at the Denver airport this day. They were just acting like we were stupid, and I'm like, I fly so frequently, and he was trying to tell me I needed to take the harness off of Clover, and I'm like, I don't. Like, it doesn't set the metal detector off. I've done this multiple times. And he was like, okay. And then I walked right through the metal detector and it didn't go off. So I know what I'm about. I'm like Ron Swanson in Lowe's. I'm like, I know more than you. Which I don't normally treat TSA like that. But sometimes they piss me off. Just putting it out there. Like, this guy was treating me like an idiot. My brother and his girlfriend visited. Our older cat let my brother's girlfriend pet her, which was like, whoa, you just met this lady. That's crazy. But my brother's girlfriend has a cat who's a little bit like Evie personality-wise. So I think Evie recognizes when someone is like her vibe. Does that make sense? I was really tired this weekend, I remember. Just from like every time we had to go to Colorado, it was like I needed recovery time after. And I think that's why I'm so burnt out this year, quite frankly. And then I was pulling all the weeds in our back patio, which it's about time to do that now. This year it's better though, because we only have weeds in our garden bed, whereas last year we had weeds like taking over the whole back patio, like growing in all of the sidewalk cracks and everything. So we got it under control last year, so that's good. So there's less weeds to pull this year. And then this is the final week I'm going to show in this flip through. Like I said, I get chatty in these flip throughs, so it's a good thing that I break them up by quarters. So this is, I forget what this was called. It was an Easter kit from Lunar Designs. I have a couple of extenders here. This, of course, was the week of Easter, which I am itching to put up my Easter decorations, and Easter's not for another month. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. I might just go ahead and put them up soon and then take them down sooner after Easter than I normally do, because I got a lot of stuff going on in May. But yeah, I love how this turned out. I color blocked it. It looks great. I had a teaching observation on this day, which I was very nervous about, but I got such positive and helpful feedback on that observation that I could actually use practically to improve my class, and that was great. And I started calling Clover's pill time, her medication time, snack time. I have successfully convinced that girl that if she has to take a pill, all I have to do is cover it in churro, and she just thinks it's a snack. That's pills. Any other type of medication, she's still like, nah, I'm not doing that. But yeah, convinced her of that. I was decorating our office, which looking around, I don't really know what that means because it's not very decorated. I'm getting very bored with my apartment lately. It's just very like bland right now, so I don't know. The cats were chasing each other to play with each other. I really didn't want to do stuff this day, so that's fun. What's going on under here? Just boring stuff. The cats were angry, so I played with them. I was printing a bunch of wedding photos to create a collage that I have sitting next to my desk in my office. Got offered fall classes, printing more photographs. We gave Clover catnip for the first time. I've kind of cooled it on giving the cats catnip because they get way overstimulated and then they start punching each other. But I gave Clover catnip and she actually reacted to it because I feel like she didn't react to it before this point. When they're really young, they don't really react to catnip a lot of the time. My brain is a fried egg. I forget what was going on here. Oh, I was probably stressed about my observation the next morning. So yeah, I had my observation and I wrote in, I did it, because the person who observed me, the professor who observed me, emailed me her feedback like immediately. So that takes a lot of the pressure off, the anxiety off. So that's good. Still anxious at the end of the day though. That's fun. I was listening to Cowboy Carter. When was I listening to Casey Musgrave's album? Because that came out around the same time. Oh yeah, this is when Deeper Well came out. They just posted the other day about the anniversary of this. So Deeper Well, I listened to that here. As we established, I listened to that album, the Decemberist new song, and then Cowboy Carter came out, I think, this day, and so I listened to all of it this day, and I know there was a little bit of discussion about the country album of the year. I loved both Deeper Well and Cowboy Carter, so I felt like people were asking me to choose between my two best friends. You know, we've all been there at some point, right? I like both of them. They were both good. I do think Cowboy Carter was a little bit more of a country album than Deeper Well, and I've been a Casey Musgraves fan for forever, and you know, I still love Deeper Well, but Cowboy Carter was great too. I think, don't hate me, we can all be friends here, it's fine. I do think Deeper Well has more tracks that I'll listen to on a regular basis, whereas Cowboy Carter, I have like my favorite tracks from that album, and then I don't listen to the rest of them. But they're both great albums. It was a good year for music. That's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have, so we don't have to fight each other. Like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Let's all be friends. Anyway, that got weird there towards the end. Thanks for listening. Oh, we should do this again, my husband and I. We made cocktails and then played Clue. It was just the two of us, and it was really fun. We should do that more often. And then Easter was here. We went out for brunch, and I think my husband made lemon cookies. So yeah, I like Easter being chill. I don't like Easter being some big thing. Although this year I do kind of want to host some friends for like an Easter egg hunt. I'm not gonna lie. I think that could be fun, like an adult Easter egg hunt. Yeah, I think I want to do that, but that involves scheduling things. So anyway, this video is going to be so long with all my rambling. Thank you so much for watching. That is January through March 2024. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.